Hello everyone, Nev here, and today I'm going to do another spread creation video. I've been trying to do these once a month during 2024. May or may not continue them in 2025, not sure yet. But today I'm with 2025 in mind. I'm going to be creating some spreads around my period. And not like, just like menstrual spreads, menstrual tarot spreads, oracle, whatever else too, because I'm kind of open on that front on what I want to do. So I've pulled out my 2025 health journal here. This I unboxed during my Hobonichi unboxing. That noise is the dog coming through the dog door, so don't mind that. Yeah, so I don't have a cover on this yet, so I'm trying to handle it as little as possible so I don't get the oils all over this journal here, but I'm gonna get the cover on cover for it soonishly. So this is going to be my health and wellness, fitness, menstruation journal, and it's a day-free Hobonichi menstrual tracker. I've already started putting different sticky notes on here to kind of show kind of what I want in each of these sections. The beginning part of the day free is all dated. So it's, the dated yearly index, and it's the monthly pages that are of course dated. And then instead, like, where it's different than the Hobonichi original, where it goes into dated daily pages, this instead goes into blank pages, except for, of course, the quotes at the bottom, which I imagine I'll probably cover up with washi and whatever. So as you can see, what I have written right here is menstrual tarot readings, because the day free part of it, and it may last longer than a year, I don't know. It's basically going to be witchy stuff pertaining to health situations, and particularly my menstrual period, so my time of the month and things like that. So sorry if this is going to be too personal for you guys, but get over it. Periods happen. So if you don't like it, don't watch the video. So anyway, so that is the plan here. And I have one of the little notebooks in the back, one of the freebie notebooks I got from Hobonichi with the pencil board in there. And I think this will be the tarot spreads. I'm going to be putting the spreads in here. And there's a lot in here, so this will probably go with whatever book. Like, when I go to the next... when this is all used up and I go to the next year or something, I'll probably transfer this to the new book. If it turns out I like this. So we'll see how that goes. So I'm not going to fill this out right now, but I'm just going to fiddle with some spread options in this video. I got to clear my throat. Hold on. There we go. Sorry about that. This video I'm going to kind of just come up with a couple spreads. I will end up putting them in the book here, but I'm planning on, this is an ongoing practice for me, which makes sense because, I'm still in a time of my life where I'm experiencing a menstrual cycle. So, and in the future, when I start to not experience a menstrual cycle, I can change it to be more health spreads, if that makes sense. So I'm going to continue making spreads for this purpose throughout my use of this book and future books if I decide to keep going that route. So the decks I pulled out right now. So I pulled out the Spread Crafters Change deck because this one's a bit more shadow worky, and I feel like this one could be maybe relevant to my intended purpose here. So I pulled that out. I may or may not use it. If anything, I'll use it for inspiration, but I pulled that out. I also pulled out the Mars Power Tarot. I don't know why I had a hard time saying all those three words together. Mars Power Tarot. Mars Power Tarot. Yeah, so I pulled this one out too, because honestly, it's got a lot of red. So I've been on the lookout for a deck that I can specifically use for my menstrual cycle. I really like the look of the Crimson Asteria, but I think that's out of print, or it's really hard to come by or something. But that one I really liked, and there's a few others that I really like that. I don't know, that either they're again, same sort of deal, that it's out of print or really hard to come by. There's one deck on Amazon that I saw, and if I remember during editing, I'll put a picture of it on the screen. But that one's specifically around menstrual cycles, and I may actually end up getting that at some point and adding that to my practice here. But as of right now, what I have is the Mars Power Tarot, which feels like, it feels very almost angry, and looks, sometimes I'm like that on my period. So like, this may be a vibe that I gravitate toward for some cycles. So I pulled that out, and plus it's a lot of red, so it's got that going for it. So I've got the Mars Power. I also have the Anna Kay, and I pulled this one out because this is my own personal deck. For like personal readings. It's my deck. I don't use this deck to read for others. I use this for me. It's kind of my therapy deck, if that makes sense. So I thought maybe that using my own personal deck would be a good one for this. And I pulled out the Mildred Payne Secret Pocket Oracle because I've really been loving this little deck, and it's really good for some quick answers. I use it, and I also have the Lenormand here. And these two decks, I just kind of use. Well, it's that cartomantic type of deck, and I've really been gravitating toward that lately. And yeah, so because I didn't want to just stick with tarot for this, and I might also pull out an oracle deck. I don't know. This particular video is just going to be a bit of an experiment. I'm going to just try some things out and see what I like, and maybe in the course of this, I'll come up with a spread or two. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. Okay, so I guess I'll start this off by pulling out the Spread Crafters Change cards, and just kind of having a look through of them. I know this isn't a review or anything of this deck. It's just, this is actually a deck that, because I got all three of the Spread Crafters decks, the main one, plus the Quest expansion and the Change expansion. And I almost never use this deck. And I think, like, in general, like, shadow work or whatever is not something I do a whole lot. Maybe I should do more. I don't know. There's something about the word shadow working that kind of rubs me the wrong way, and I can't articulate why. So I don't really like using the term, but I don't have any other sort of term to use for this sort of energy, or whatever. Yeah, so I haven't really found a need for this deck yet, but considering the emotional things that happen when I'm on my cycle, I tend to be a lot more sensitive. I tend to take things more personally, or react more viscerally toward certain things. And that's not always the case. During my period, sometimes I have super smooth periods that have no, I have no real emotional instability that month, and that's great. So yeah, it's just kind of, it tends to often be a bit of emotionally unstable time for me, and because of that, like, I thought maybe this deck would help with this, you know, and maybe I will tread into the shadow worky type stuff. Yeah. So I'm just kind of looking through these cards real quick. I'm just doing a quick little like walk through, looking at the keywords on some of these things. Some of them aren't jumping out at me, but some of them kind of are. Like I saw hold space, which seemed like a good one in here. There's other cards that I just, bias might be good. Freedom, legacy, education, justice, stereotype. All right. I mean, yeah. And then here's the little quick guide. It says, so quick guide. Shadow work category contains cards that capture our common ego triggers. The colored in heart, the full heart symbol, poses a question to prompt you to own your personal triggers and shadows, while the open heart, or the clear heart here, symbol asks a question to help you heal and clear your heart space of the shadows you have experienced from others. All right. Flex cards are overarching concepts that govern our worldview and can shift depending on the context and the relationship. That seems about right for my intended purpose here. Call to action cards contain powerful action words to help you create forward momentum and channel your intention. I like that category quite a bit. And then quick start activity, identify the cards that give you feelings of heart contraction, as well as cards that give you heart expansion. All right. Reflect on why you feel the way you do toward those cards. I don't know how I feel about that little, but I like both the flux and call to action words here. I kind of like that. So let me separate these out into their categories. Okay, so this is the shadow work, this is the flux cards, and this is the call to action. One thing, as I was separating these, one thing I might want to do is just like a simple 3 card, and I could actually use this deck each time and like get a different, so kind of an influx sort of reading. So pulling one shadow work card. All right, so let's just pull that. So prejudice, the shadow work decks have the 2 heart system thing. I don't know, like, I don't really like that kind of stuff, but it's not really my thing. But all right, so it says, what are the preconceived notions or ideas you have about a person, a group, or people, or a situation that do not necessarily reflect reality. Do not or does not? Ideas. Oh, ideas. So do. Okay. How have you been subjected to prejudice? What needs to be acknowledged? How can you heal that part of yourself? I don't know. Maybe I would lean more towards the colored in heart sort of thing here. What are the preconceived notions or ideas you have about a person, a group of people, or a situation that do not necessarily reflect reality? Maybe if we're relating this to my period, like we could say something like, what sort of preconceived ideas am I currently experiencing as I go into my period right now, as I start this cycle? What are some preconceived feelings that I'm feeling right now, or preconceived ideas that I'm experiencing right now? And then, like, so what would be in flux? Consciousness. What do I need to be conscious of? All right. Archetypes, collective reality, individuality, narratives, awakening, mind, attitudes. Yeah, I don't know. This is like preconceived ideas going into my period, and opening up and being more conscious of something, being more conscious of that prejudice, maybe. And then the call to action. All right. Validate. All right. That's, I kind of liked the trajectory of that reading. And like, maybe if I did something like this, I can then pull out 3 cards here And again, this is just me coming up with something. And this idea would be something that it would always be in flux. It would be I'm using the Spreadcrafters Change deck to create this spread every single time. So it's not a static spread, is what I'm trying to say. So like the Devil, okay, and then 10 of Pentacles. Oh, all right, and Validate, 10 of Swords. Okay, so like I'm not gonna read this, but like, so how might one read something like this? Some preconceived notions going into this cycle is maybe a certain level of temptation, a certain level of negative behavior, maybe, or feeling unhealthily drawn to something. And then the consciousness of, 10 of Pentacles, that's, to me, it's kind of that family tree card. It's about legacy. And I mean, being conscious of the fact that things are actually better than I think. And, and just kind of being conscious of maybe my privilege. And in fact, that was one of the shadow work cards. But that's kind of what I'm feeling with this, is like being conscious of how good I have it, or something like that. And then Validate with the 10 of Swords, validating a certain pain. Validating that, because these two cards feel like they're connected to me. And I would say that, this is just, it is validating. Like, we need to be conscious of this, be conscious of our understanding of privilege, of how good it is right now, and but at the same time, validate that these feelings are still very real, because the 10 of Swords is kind of that rock bottom, is sort of how I read the 10 of Swords. And to me, the 10 of Swords actually has a nugget of positivity to it. And I'm not trying to switch it around to make it, fluffy and light, because sometimes the 10 of Swords is the 10 of Swords, But yeah, so in general, I'm just saying that this turned out pretty good. And I feel like if I did a spread like this, it could really work out. My only concern with doing a spread like this is that I may pull a card that I'm just not connecting to as far as the positions go. So I think I'm going to allow myself, of course, I can do whatever I want, it's my reading, but like, I think I'm going to allow myself to pull a mulligan if there's a particular prompt that I don't like. So yeah, so there's one spread. Do I want to do another spread using these cards? Not in the same way that I just used them, but maybe. So one thing I wanted to sort of say about the idea of spreads surrounding my menstrual cycle is that, like, some days I'm just not going to want to really do much, and especially this being my period, so there are days that I'm just going to be fucking tired, and I really don't want to do an elaborate spread on something. So I kind of wanted to do something where it's just a single card pull, and just sort of reflecting on what that card makes me think of. So maybe I'll pull out my Anna K for that. I could also do the Mars Power, but I don't know. With this idea, with the idea of going with something a lot more simple, I just want to use a deck that I'm really familiar with, and that would be the Anna K, because it's my own personal deck. So, like, maybe if I'm having a particularly rough period, I can just pull one card from my Anna K, and I'll just pull out a random card. Knight of Cups. All right. So a sort of rose-colored glasses sort of energy. It looks especially dark right now in this room. But Yeah, and there's something sweet and nice and lovely, and this guy is just straight up like, there's that idea of stopping to smell the roses. Well, the Knight of Cups is like always smelling the roses. They don't see anything else besides those roses. You know what I mean? So that could be an energy that I maybe write a few sentences for, and because some of the pages in my book, some of them I might deck out full on decorations, and others I may just, have the card here. I'm going to put the date that, this is happening, maybe a mood or something like that. The card that I pulled, the deck, and just a few sentences, a sentence or two on how this card makes me feel. So, I mean, that's a super simple one card pull. Yeah, so that might be something. So I did a 3 card using this. I did a 1 card using this. And I think that I do want to do something elaborate. At least one thing elaborate. And maybe we can pull out either the Mildred Payne or a Lenormand, and I pulled out my Bitmoji Lenormand because, again, this is surrounding my period, so this is my deck, it's my character, that's me, so, yeah, so that's why this seemed like a pretty good one, and it's very positive, it's very cute, even the bad cards, like Snake, Coffin, I'm, I'm goofily smiling in these, so... Yeah, my hair doesn't look like this anymore. It went back to red. But when I created this deck, I had purple and blue hair. So, yeah. Anyway, so I do want to do some sort of Lenormand spread, but maybe, I don't know. Should it be just a general check-in? So I'm going to throw out a box, and then we'll just maybe, I don't know, come up with how I'm like what question I might have for this, like doing just a simple, oh, look at that, that's myself and my husband, that's sweet. So pulling out a box there, and man, I look at this and it seems like very much about family life, because we got child, myself and my husband, tree, that homestead sort of energy here being rooted. There's a lot of happiness going on, like sort of long lasting, or like something that has lasted a long time. That's the lily. Yeah. I don't know, like clouds maybe is the only one that maybe you could potentially put a negative on there, because I think technically it's a negative card, because with Lenormand there's positive, there's negative, there's neutral positive and neutral negative, and I think the clouds is considered negative, but I think that's the only one here. I think tree and book are like neutral negative, I can't remember, but these are neutral. This is probably the happiest card in the deck. So I don't know. See, like in general, it seems like a very happy reading for me. But and then we've got myself and my husband, and child doesn't necessarily mean children, but like it can. And I mean, that makes sense. So maybe there's a certain focus on the children, not going into it sort of not sure what to do. But like the stability's there, we maybe had gotten some sort of note from school or something that revealed some things. There's book, and there's a sort of focus on our children, maybe. That's one way I might read this. I'm just throwing that out there. But like, I don't know how this might go toward a menstrual reading, though. I wonder if using this deck might be too much, I don't know, because this reading that just came up feels very much connected to my family, but I love that I'm the focus here because it's a reading for me, and I just showed up right here in the middle, and there's my husband right next to me. So, I mean, that's the focus card in the center, and here I am. So, I don't know. I feel like this is somehow meant for me, and even though this was just a silly pull of the deck, but I think in this case, I would just have to come up with something that was pretty, like, if I had a general question during my period, I'll pull out a Lenormand box like that. And then let's connect it to some other cards. Like, let's pull out another, like maybe a tarot deck or something. All right, I pull out the Zeke's Arcana just because it, seemed like it would match this deck a little better. And here we go. But so we could do some sort of like 4 cards here, but I would have to try to figure out what these positions mean. And of course I'm laying down the cards first and figuring out the positions later. But I'm just like playing around with this and kind of seeing what's working, what's not, for this more elaborate reading. And this is like a fairly common sort of spread layout that I do sometimes. And so we've got, all right, I'm trying to figure something out. So let's see. I'm going to kind of look through these real quick and see if I can find 4 cards that I think that maybe I like with this. Okay, so I pulled out some of the flux cards. I like Freedom, Progress, and Bias. Those seem like ideas to keep in mind. And I pulled out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cards from the Call to Action. I didn't pull out anything from the Shadow Work section. I considered pulling out the Rage card, but Rage just seemed a lot more intense of a feeling than what I was going for here, because I do want this to be a static reading, not like the first one where I did where it's just 3 cards from the Change Spreadcrafters deck, and it would be different each time. That was that reading. This one I want to be a bit more static, and I'm not tied to these words that are on these cards. They're kind of just meant as inspiration for this. So with a 4 card reading here, and we're going into my period, or maybe I'm in the thick of it or something, or maybe it's dying down. I don't know. I don't know what time this spread would be, or what time of my period this spread would be used for, but I just kind of want to come up with a spread. So we've got the middle part, that's the general question, the main thing on my mind, okay? And these sorts of cards right here are, the tarot cards are sort of supporting this in some way. So I start off pulling the 9-card box. It answers my question. I just have a question. So the question itself is something that's going to be in flux, which will change. I have just a general question going into this. And this 9-card box answers my question in a way. And then these cards support it, or give me further insight on it. So I like Hold Space quite a lot, and I think I want to use this one for sure. So, but I don't know which one, because I want to do it 1, 2, 3, 4. I think that's the layout I want. Amplify is pretty good. I also pulled out Defend and Validate, but I did just use Validate, but, you know, I may use it again. I don't, Harmonize, Transcend Chaos, maybe that's kind of good. All right, I've narrowed that down to 3, and then there's these ones. I really like Bias as sort of the shadowy sort of side of this reading. And progress I like. So I'm going to put the freedom card aside. So now I've narrowed it down to 5 cards. All right. So progress is a good last card, I think. I think harmonize might be good here because I feel like I'm coming in with a bias on this, my biased opinion, and holding space for that. Be someone without judgment, to accept someone's truth and to understand their reality, to practice love and compassion. So like it's my bias. So coming in with my bias, holding space for that and holding space for the situation in general, not just from my perspective, from the situation in general. And right in here we have the 6 of Cups, which is an interesting sort of card for that. So I think I'm going to take Amplify off because, so we start off with a bias. What is my bias with this question? How can I hold space for my bias and a different perspective? How can I harmonize those? So to transcend chaos, to synthesize various perspectives, to amalgamate new information with what you already know, to find unique balance. So yeah, like how to harmonize these, my bias and the other perspectives. And then progress, you know, this card here, movement, growth, evolution, where I basically go from there. So yeah, I think I like this. So, I mean, I'm not going to do this reading because I didn't actually have a question here. So, I do like the words here. So, bias, hold space, harmonize, or balance, and progress. All right, so I'm pretty happy with that. So, yeah, and the other thing I might want to do is pull out an oracle card or something to just kind of like a takeaway message. And I have the Cowgirls and Aliens here. I have my issues with this deck, which I kind of went over at length on the last video, the one right before this one. So go check out that video. And I love this deck. Don't get me wrong. I do love this deck. It's just I really hate the affirmations here at the bottom. So and it was bugging me so much going through that walkthrough video because I'd been using this deck, but like I was seeing you know, when I was using the deck, I was only using one card at a time, so I wasn't really going in depth on the deck. So the video, I was getting more and more irritated at these affirmations. But anyway, so maybe I have a question. I pull out a 9-card box. In general, answers my question. The 4 tarot cards around it. My bias on this question. How can I hold space for other opinions? How can I balance that with my own opinions? And where to go from there? And then maybe I can pull an oracle card and just have a general takeaway message down there at the bottom. So, yeah, it was pretty good. I'm kind of happy with that. I think I will add these 3 spreads that I did to my journal, and there we go. All right, so that is it. So that was 3 spreads centered around my menstrual cycle, and there were kind of 3 different levels. There was a single 1-card, a short journal entry, probably not going to decorate that page very much, sort of reading, it's just a 1-card pull, and sort of how that card is making me feel right now, and my understanding of that card right now. And then there was a simple 3-card, so maybe a little bit more effort. Maybe I will do a little bit more decoration for that one. Who knows? And that was a spread that would be that spread would be different every single time. So that I kind of liked, actually. And that used the 3 categories of the Spread Crafters change. And so that one, maybe, yeah, maybe I will do a bit more with that. I never ended up using this, so in the future, maybe I might use that more. Or I could have used it in the same way as the Lenormand, honestly. But because that's kind of actually how I use this deck, the Mildred Pains. I use it like it's a Lenormand, even though there's 88 cards in this, as opposed to the 36 in Lenormand. But yeah, I use this deck the same way I use Lenormand. So yeah. And then the elaborate spread. Maybe I'm feeling a lot more open to exploring and decorating and doing more. Maybe I'm having a pretty good period day, and I just want to consult my cards and do a bigger spread. And so I have a general question, and then the question is what's going to change each time, and I do a reading on that. And then I have the 4 tarot cards that sort of elaborate on that, elaborate more on my feelings on what I'm seeing. And then a takeaway oracle card, optional at the end. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Got 3 spreads there. In the future, I will come up with more spreads. And again, these also could be used at any time. I'm just doing these with in the context of during a menstrual cycle. And some of these spreads that I might do in the future might be more health related, a bit more on how am I feeling emotionally, how am I feeling physically, how is my period affecting me this cycle? These are all spread positions I could do. And I think I'm just kind of doing an impromptu 4th spread here, but these are questions that just kind of popped in my head here. So okay, how am I feeling emotionally right now? Death. Awesome. What a great card to get when this is a period spread. And I feel like death. All right, how am I feeling emotionally? Like death. How am I feeling physically? So maybe justice. Maybe I'm feeling I don't know. I'm trying not to read into it right now, but how am I feeling emotionally? How am I feeling physically? I could ask how am I feeling spiritually. Maybe we can pull a card for that. And then a final card of what should I do? How should I, maybe that's what I'll do. I'll do it like that. So we'll do a 3 card, physical or mental, physical, and spiritual. In fact, you know what? Let's do physical, mental, spiritual, like that. And then the final card will just kind of be a where to take this energy, what advice going forward this cycle. So how am I feeling in these 3 aspects, and what to do with that, what to do with that energy. And then just one more card. Oh, the sun. I could read that literally and be like, just, get some vitamin D. I mean, especially if we're doing some health related sort of spreads here. Yeah. So I also kind of like this layout. Maybe we would pull it. I want these to be a bit more connected. So physical, emotional, spiritual, or I don't know, physical, emotional, spiritual. So spiritual in the center, physical, emotional. So 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. I kind of like that more. All right. See, I'm working this out as I create it. So how am I feeling physically? How am I feeling emotionally? How am I feeling spiritually? And where to take these energies, where to go forward. Yeah, it's almost a call to action, or what to do with that. And because it's a health related type of spread, I could take this very literally and say I need more vitamin D. I need to get out in the sun more. I mean, and that's one thing with doing health related spreads like this, is that some of these, you can read into these a lot more literally. And also a note on doing health related spreads. Obviously, and I feel like I shouldn't have to say this, but I probably should say it. It is not meant to diagnose anything. It's not meant to replace any sort of professional help, nothing like that. It is just meant as a support aid. Yeah, so that's kind of how I view health related spreads. So anyway, we did 4 spreads. We did 4 spreads, and I was actually pretty happy with this. So, all right, thank you so much for watching, everyone, and I will see you next time. Bye.